Investment advisory services offered through Independent Solutions Wealth Management and Blackridge Asset Management, LLC. Peak Brokerage Services, LLC is not an affiliate of Independent Solutions or Financial Guys, LLC.
Podcast, baby!
You're listening to The Financial Guys.
This is the sickness that is liberalism.
Everybody's worried about Donald Trump's taxes,
right.
but nobody questions any of the liberals.
People like Andrew Cuomo, people like Barack Obama, people like that have no business experience or skill whatsoever.
Nobody has had the stones to step up to them and say, these deals stink and we're going to change them.
We need more Donald Trumps. That's what we need.
Here's Glenn Wiggle and Mike Lomas.
Welcome back. Podcast number whatever. Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle, the place where money meets politics. And we are the Financial Guys.
New set.
This is awesome. I feel like we're doing a press conference.
I know, right?
That's okay.
One question at a time, folks.
One question at a time. Yeah. We've got all kinds of stuff today. I don't know. We'll probably get to a little bit of money. Last week we did a whole show on money, which was different, right?
Yeah.
Were you
Did
on?
we?
Was I on?
No, I was traveling. I was off.
I guess I had Mike Hayflick on, and we did. We talked about Social Security planning a little bit. So
very nice.
I don't even know where to start. Look, we have to start. We've been, throughout the week we throw each other articles. We post them to our Facebook page. Follow us on Twitter. This was great. Why is Illinois' hemorrhaging residents?
Ooh. Let me guess. It's the.
I'll give you three guesses. And
it's
the first
the
two
weather.
Don't count.
It's the weather.
That's the weather.
Must
yeah.
be the
It
weather. That was
must
Cuomo's excuse, right?
It must be because they live by a great natural resource like a Great Lake, right? No, you know what it is? It's Democrats.
Yes.
It's left-wing policies that are continuing to drive people out. What's amazing, though, if you read this article, it is unbelievable to me. I hate to say this word, but how dumb the left is. I mean, they continue to watch their policies fail.
Well,
they continue to watch their policies destroy neighborhoods, and they can't, for once, just creatively think maybe we should do something different. They're blaming it on not enough money in the educational system.
So this is the question we've asked before, because it's hard to be this stupid.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
It really is.
So is it that they're just that blinded by their ignorance, or is it that they're intentionally trying to keep a permanent underclass that has to vote for that little bit of a handout?
Yeah.
Because I got to be honest. I mean, you can look at Seattle. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. You can look at San Francisco. You can look at L.A. You can look at Chicago. You can look at Detroit. You can look at any major city. Baltimore, run by liberals, run with progressive policies, right?
Yeah.
What do you have? You have high poverty. You have the highest gap between the rich and the poor, right? Buffalo, for example, is the fourth highest child poverty rate in the country, right?
Yes.
A third of the residents in Buffalo are under the poverty line. I mean, you look at the policies that liberal progressive politicians continuously put in place: higher regulation, higher taxes, right? More spending, more social programs. What's the results of that? More wealthy people leaving, more people voting with their feet, less money, more taxes, right? It's like a vicious circle that they can't seem to understand how to get out of.
To your point, when you look at some of the leadership in those communities, and the leadership is the mayor driving around with somebody driving him around. City of Buffalo, the mayor has somebody driving him around. Like, do you really need that? I mean, you're putting that many deals together, right?
Right.
So you've got the mayor driving somebody around. You look at somebody like a Brian Higgins, a Timmy Kennedy. They're fine, right? They've got pensions. They've got everything that's fine. And then you look at even some of the local leadership. We've always said this. Even some of the pastors and the churches and the leadership in the churches in the inner cities. They're all driving around in Cadillacs and living
absolutely
in $1 million condos on the waterfront. They're fine.
I'll never forget when we started the business 25 years ago. We were driving around trying to get business, right? We're just, you just struggle and you do whatever you can to find clients. I'll never forget going over to the east side of Buffalo because we were trying to get 403Bs, and we got a few of them from some of these churches. And I'll never forget pulling up in front of one of the churches on the east side, and I won't name the name. He just happens to be on the Common Council of Buffalo now, and I pull up, and there's a Lexus. Yeah. Beautiful, brand new Lexus. Yeah. Now, here on Jefferson Avenue on the east side of Buffalo,
the homes
not
are
too many Lexuses, so it kind of stuck out.
Yeah, the homes range from free to $5,000.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, you can't give them away. But he's got a Lexus. So we went and talked to him and said, it's a nice car out there. He goes, well, the parishioners are very generous in my church. Very generous. It's so different with politicians, right? They line their own pockets, and when you look at places like Chicago, Detroit, or New York City, it's not the politicians that are going to suffer. Look at Venezuela, right?
The leadership is not
right. Is
suffering.
Maduro starving? No, he's eating churros on TV while people are eating their dogs. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. But when you read this stuff, like, you can't be, and these are professors, you can't possibly be this stupid, right? So this is the article that you had here, Mike. Why is Illinois hemorrhaging residents? This is from, they just can't figure it out, right? People are leaving Illinois in droves. Republicans blame the state high taxes and its unfunded pension liability, which tops $130 billion. Right.
Yes.
Democrats, however, believe it's the state's lack of investment in education infrastructure. Oh, that must be it. It must be it.
So, but when you look at these areas, right, it's the cost of education is the highest in the nation.
Right.
They're spending the most amount of money on education, right? Is the infrastructure a mess? Yes, the infrastructure is a mess. You know why? Because you can't afford to pay for it because you gave all the damn money to welfare.
Right.
You gave all the money to the big pensions and the welfare, right? Of course your infrastructure is hurting. Shame. You know what, though? What is so frustrating is it's time and time again, over and over again, they continue to vote for the same policies and push them. And the problem is always we don't have enough money.
That's right.
Right.
More money and more time.
City of Buffalo, $30,000 it costs per child to educate this person and put them into a system where there's a high probability that 60% of them are not going to get out, and 1 out of every 4 of them will end up in federal prison.
Right.
Yet you can go to a private school for 20 here.
That's right. Yeah, Democrats want you to be from preschool to prison. That's what they want to control for the education. But this is a college professor here, and they should know better than this. What's happening in the Prairie State?
Well, he's fine. That college professor's fine.
Of course he's fine. He's working for a university.
His salary is
right?
$150,000 a year, $200,000 a year.
Absolutely, and with full benefits.
Full benefits.
Oh, and a retirement and a pension. What's happening in the Prairie State may offer national lessons about the deindustrialized economy and how that creates inequity issues in wages and housing, said Matthew Wilson, a senior research specialist at the University of Illinois at Chicago's Great Cities Institute. Really, Wilson? Seriously?
Yeah.
No, it's not. It has nothing to do with look. There are states that don't have the industrial and cities that don't have the manufacturing industrial base that an Illinois or a Pittsburgh or Buffalo once had, and they're doing great. You know why? Because they're fiscally responsible, run by conservatives or Republicans.
Let me tell you what happens with those old buildings, by the way, if you just get out of the goddamn way of the government, right?
That's right.
They repurpose them. They read and they'll put their own private money in it. I'll never forget the Pagula. So when they put up that building in downtown Buffalo, and the mayor went, "Wow, I can't believe how fast that went." That's amazing when it's private money.
Right.
And they're actually worried about bills, and you don't have some of our local developers scamming money off the system, right? Because that doesn't happen in the private sector. Because guys like you and I go, "Wait a minute, I want to know where every bill's going, and I'm not going to pay $400 a square foot for Solar City when I know it's worth $125
or $800 a square foot."
It's an absolute joke.
This one goes right along with it, though, Mike. And you sent me this. This is as the wealthy flee New York, poorest will be most affected. Every single time.
No way.
Every single time. The best part about this, though,
this was on The Hill, by the way. So if you get a chance to check this out,
and I'm not a big fan of The Hill, but this article is spot on.
Yeah, but it's amazing to me. But you're the ones voting for this.
Right.
You continue to vote for it, and the wealthy are going to. You are going to see a mass exodus out of the state within the next 10 years out of New York State.
You're already seeing it.
Oh no, it's going to get way worse. Way worse, because what's happening now is you've got a group. There's still a big group of folks. They're the children of the baby boomers, and they've decided to raise their kids here, but it will be the last straw. And I'll tell you why. Because technology over the last 10 years has advanced to the point where it is so much easier to leave. I can FaceTime you back there. I can look at you on my wall every day if I can put my TV up and hook it to my phone, right? We all remember the days where if somebody lived in Florida and they moved from Buffalo, it was like, well, you got to call. It's Sunday night at 9 o'clock because after 9 o'clock, it's
the long-distance rates go up.
Yeah, it's 50 cents an hour as opposed to, so everybody huddles around the phone. Now it's like, I'll call you anytime I want. Technology is getting us to the point where the folks with a brain in their head are saying, you know what? And I'm there, folks. I'm here.
And the wherewithal.
I got 8 years. And 6 months, but who's counting? And I will be gone from this state. I will be gone from the state. Will I come back? Of course I will. We have a big building here. We've got an office here, but I'm going to be 6 months.
Will be residents, though? Probably not. But this is, I mean, of course it affects the poor the most.
Yeah.
They're the ones that can't leave. They're the ones that are dependent on these social programs that the government makes them dependent on.
Right.
But these numbers are unbelievable, right? 450,000 people moved out of New York just last year.
450,000.
450,000.
We're going to talk about
just
that, by the way,
last year
on the radio show this week. I know we'll get some liberals that go, no, those numbers aren't right. No, of course not.
No, not right. Andrew Cuomo, by the way, is out there talking about fiscal responsibility, right? We passed the budget that's fiscally responsible. Really? Yeah. You had a $2.3 billion hole in the state budget that you called a huge crisis, right? You filled that by smoke and mirrors and raising taxes and fees. I mean, it's unbelievable. This is amazing. Let me just read a little bit of this because this is really is worth it. Dragging business practices, skyrocketing taxes, telecommuting, and a loss of the special status is a toxic mix for New York. Among young people, New York is becoming passé. During recent years, both the city and the state of New York have lost residents as waves of educated and high-earning millennials have fled. In fact, more than 46% of New Yorkers of all ages moving out of the state are in the bracket earning more than $150. So who does that leave? It leaves the poor folks that can't get out, right? Now, they're going to run out of this money for sure. This is amazing. When you hear people, folks, talk about the wealthy need to pay their fair share, the rich don't pay enough, and this is the Democrat, mantra, right?
Yeah.
The rich have to pay their fair share. That's the playbook,
their
right?
playbook. Yep.
Class warfare. In the Big Apple, the tax burden on high earners is onerous. The local government relies solely on the top 10% for over 70% of the taxes, with the top 1% paying more than the bottom 90% combined.
Wow. So 10%
Did you hear that?
You
bottom 90%? The top 1% pays more taxes than all of that bottom 90 combined.
And guess what? They're going bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right.
Bye-bye. They're going bye-bye, right? The next thing is, by the way, there'll be an exit tax out of New York State.
Absolutely.
Mark my words. It will be within the next 5 years. The next deal that Andrew Cuomo will put together will be an exit tax. You want to leave us? You know why? We gave you all these great benefits for so many years. You're going to pay for it. It's an absolute joke. It'll just continue to push. And they'll continue to press the people, by the way, that are 6 months in a day. So the first folks that'll get audited are the ones that have multiple residencies to try to catch them, right? And the only thing that'll do is piss them off, so they just say, I'm out. And we've already seen that with multiple clients that have said, you know what, I got audited, and it was funny because I never got audited until I decided to declare my residency down in Florida, but yet I had a house here. And you know what it made me do? It made me sell the house in New York. I said, you know what, I'll just come back less, I'll see you less, which means, by the way, all you restaurant owners, all you folks that they might come back and see you, they're seeing you less.
That's right. Yeah. So do you think that when the people leave, now they're spending more money in New York. New York City, by the way, the budget in New York City tops $90 billion. $93 billion.
18 square miles or something
18
like
square
that.
miles.
90 billion.
The current spending levels are likely unsustainable? Likely unsustainable? Are you planning on finding the money tree? Likely? No, definitely unsustainable.
These are the good times, by the way.
That's right.
These are the good times.
Right.
We've got economic growth rates nationally of 3 to 4%. What happens when we go into a recession and that number turns to zero?
Listen to this. The New York City Council passed a $93 billion budget, which includes spending hikes of 6% for salaries, 9% for other employee benefits, 9% for debt service,
that's fiscally responsible,
11% for health insurance, and 12% for public assistance funding and more.
A 12% increase for public assistance.
This local budget also sets aside a new line item for taxpayer-funded abortions, an army of new social workers, and even a package for the new Green Deal.
Well,
now, de Blasio...
by the way, these Democrats think this abortion will be a stimulus plan.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? We'll be getting people
will flee here to kill their babies.
Just to get their
absolutely.
abortion.
I'm sure they will. Let me say this. Here's our prediction, okay? This is not rocket science, folks. Cause and effect. Seattle... Cause and effect. Homeless, drug problem, right? Liberal policies, cause and effect, okay? Now, New York City is on the exact same path that Detroit was on. What happened to Detroit? They declared bankruptcy. Largest major municipality in the United States ever to declare bankruptcy. Who's now next on the verge of bankruptcy? Oh, it's Chicago.
Yeah.
Go figure. Liberal progressive policies.
It'll be California,
again.
Illinois, and New York.
That's right.
Yep.
So now on a state level, when you look at New York City, we're going right back down where we were in 1970. In In the 1970s, we did the same exact thing. We tried this social progressive experiment with all these social programs, and what happened was people fled, they ran out of money. When they ran out of money, the first thing they cut was the police force, because liberals hate police anyways, right? So why not get rid of? We don't need them, right? Them. And De Blasio has already done things like stop
if you just let them steal a little bit,
right? Exactly. Well, they're doing that in Dallas now, right?
You just let them steal a little bit, they'll be fine.
So New York City will go right back to where it was in 1980, right? So in the past, whenever that happened, they didn't cut their salaries. They didn't cut their benefits, right? The politicians didn't cut their helicopter rides. They didn't cut their drivers. No. Who got cut? Well, the people that got cut were those very people that were dependent on those programs that the liberal progressives made them dependent on.
This next bankruptcy, though, will hurt. You're going to have to cut across the board because there's states like New York and California that are so far out of whack right now. I don't see how that is just not a massive bankruptcy and collapse. And by the way, for those of you that say, oh, that's terrible, that's exactly what needs to happen. You need to cleanse the system because it'll never fix itself. It will never fix itself.
The city in the 1970s went so far as to request a ballot from Washington, leading to the infamous drop-dead moment of President Gerald Ford in 1975. New York cut down the number of cops on the streets and the teachers in the classrooms, while at the same time raising subway fares and tuition for the first time in the history of the City University of New York. The rate of residents leaving spiked, as did crime, and with many recalling 1980 as the first year for it. The problems that plagued New York decades ago are lessons for the city today. A hollowing out of its local revenue and intellectual base will lead to a fiscal disaster that will hurt the urban poor the hardest. Those very same wealthy people that politicians have demonized to gain votes are the actual linchpins for the spending largesse of progressives. Once high earners are gone, followed by middle-class taxpayers, the promises of democratic socialism by Mayor de Blasio will also vanish. Many of those remaining in New York will be those without the means to leave.
But by the way, the only way that city bottomed out was Rudy Giuliani bringing in massive amounts of extra police officers to put them on every single corner to drive the crack addicts out, which absolutely should be happening in the city of Buffalo, by the way. It should be on every corner on the east side. Every corner.
But we have to prosecute.
And let me let you in on a little secret. If you see a $70,000 truck that consistently is in the driveway of a $5,000 home, they might be a drug dealer.
Yeah, probably. Now in Seattle, right? We'll take a break in a second. But in Seattle, right? What happened? They raised the minimum wage. They started releasing criminals back onto the street because they were only prosecuting. We played the whole story.
Real bad ones.
They're only prosecuting certain people, so they're letting like 80% of the people that they arrest, and so the cops have just stopped arresting drug addicts. Now, what you have in Seattle is you have homeless encampments, you have tent cities, just like in San Francisco. You have rampant drug problems, and people are starting to flee the city. That's exactly where New York City will be in 3 to 5 years, because at some point, whether it's later this year, whether it's next year, whether it's the year after, or the year after that, at some point, like you said, Mike, this is the good times, we're going to hit a recession. And when we do, look out, because there's not going to be any of that money to fund these programs.
By the way, follow where the money's going. States like Florida, which we do have an office down in South Florida, $17.2 billion of new wealth. And guess what? They cut, you got to get drug tested in the state of Florida to get welfare. 30% of the people that were applying for welfare dropped out. What does that tell you?
Yeah, no doubt.
It tells you that they're making good decisions, and that's where the money's flowing. Let's take a quick break. We'll be back here. Place Where Money Meets Politics, Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle podcast. We'll be back. Welcome back. Place Where Money Meets Politics. Mike Lomas, Glenn Wiggle. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Our website, thefinancialguys.com. We do manage money for a living, so if you need our help with managing money, we have a lot of fun with this podcast, a lot of fun with our radio shows, TV shows, but we do manage money Monday through Friday when it comes to retirement planning or Medicare planning. And also, a quick plug, we are accepting donations. $50 donation will get you a magnet, and it is a spoof on the New York State throughway signs, which go to our website. It's hilarious, and 100% of the $50 will go to Children's Hospital.
Yes, not a donation to us. I know there's a lot of podcasts and things like that. They're out there begging for money and asking for donations. We don't want your donations to us. We want your donations to Children's Hospital in Buffalo, which is a wonderful facility. So if you want that sign that you can put up anywhere, it's a magnet, go to our website at thefinancialguys.com. You can find it. You can also find out all of our social media links, including Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and whatever else we do online now through our website at thefinancialguys.com.
Yeah, don't cheap out. Buy a sign. We never ask anybody. Donate money to get the sign. $50 will get you the sign. Go to our website. It's absolutely hilarious. And it'll annoy your liberal friends. It'll educate your liberal friends. And it'll make your conservative friends laugh. So go to our website. Glenn, it's funny. I was talking to David DiPietro. Actually, he was doing our radio show a few weeks ago. And he said something that caught my attention. He said, think about some of the absolutely asinine things we do in Western New York, and we have like these Jeopardy contests. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, there's this Welcome to like 42 North application, which is Startup New York, and they actually have a contest every year to win a certain amount of money. I think it's almost $1 million to start your business. And Dave's point was, he said, these businesses never stay here, the ones that actually make it. Yeah. Most of them don't make it.
Right, most fail.
And I started to think, well, wait a minute. It's funny because you and I never got a penny from anybody in New York State. In fact, we've donated a lot of our own money through the taxes and regulations and everything like that. How completely aggravating is it from a business owner standpoint in this state, in this area, to work your butt off, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, you take all kinds of risks, and then the government is picking once again winners and losers with our money. Let's hold a little contest.
That sounds fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
How about this? How about the business community
Let's have the
together?
pyramid game down in the city of Buffalo, or the whatever you want to call it, the family feud to win $1 million to run a business. What a joke.
We've run a business here for over 20 years, and it incenses me when they do stuff like this, or when they open up the Empire Zone. If you open up a business near UB, you don't have to pay taxes for 10 years. Right. We'll pay them for you. Yeah. No worries, right?
But think about it. We just bought a building 5 blocks down.
Right.
So 5 blocks down, we buy a building. We get hammered with taxes.
Crushed.
Increased. But yet 2 weeks later, because of the timing of it, my competition, who never spent our competition could never have spent $1 in Western New York, right? They have an office in Florida, but now they're going to relocate here and they're going to compete with us down the street.
That's right. And we have to pay for it.
And we've got to pay for it. Absolute joke.
They're taking our money and they're giving it based on a contest winner. Who picks the winner? Zemsky? Because he's a real winner himself, right? Howard Zemsky's picked some real winners, Howie. You're doing a great job, by the way.
Are you trying to pick losers?
Right. I mean, because, maybe this. How about this?
Howard, do the opposite.
Exactly. Howie, put 2 piles together. These are the ones I think are going to be successful. These are the ones I don't. And then fight your urge and pick the one that you think is not going to be successful. It might give you a chance because your track record, pal, is atrocious.
It sucks.
How you still have a job, by the way, is astonishing. Yeah. Only in New York State, only in a liberal, progressive, a Democrat-run anything would a clown like that still have a job.
Well,
the most useless individual in the state, aside from Andrew Cuomo.
My guess is he's a money raiser for Andrew Cuomo.
I'm sure he is.
My guess is the friends of Howard Zemsky happen to be donating some cash.
Well, and of course, he's got to keep them around because the rest of those friends are now in jail, right? The rest of those are now going to prison, right?
Only for a short time. They'll be back out.
9 out of 11 of his inner circle have all been arrested and are going to jail, or they've gotten really sweetheart plea deals, right?
Only for a short time frame.
Yeah.
And that money's still there for them waiting on the outside.
Let me ask you this. If you're on probation for things like fraud and racketeering while working on an Andrew Cuomo Buffalo billion, can you still raise money for Andy?
Oh, sure.
Right? Is that
Why
okay?
not?
Right? He'll take it, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's any clause.
Just want to make sure we were
gag
clear on
order that says you can't raise money.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
I would. Yeah. Well, how do you think you're going to get your next project when you get out of jail?
Right.
So here's another asinine contest in the city of Buffalo.
Oh, I love these.
Buffalo Skyway contest panelists stopped by Canal Side. Monday's event comes as Friday's entry deadline approaches. The top prize is $100,000 with $50,000 for second and $25,000 for third.
So wait, hold on a second. Let me stop you there. So in the private sector, if multiple companies bid on a project, let me give you a hint, only the winner gets money.
Right.
Okay. Usually you don't say, oh, you know what? Oh, you were our second choice. You were so close. Here's 50 grand anyways for trying.
Well,
right?
no, this is the open to the public.
Oh, this is the contest for like drawings. Like,
Yeah.
like when you draw the crayons, you put them in McDonald's.
Yeah, like so. If you
Right,
have
for
an
the best looking
idea
picture,
as to
is
what,
right.
if you have an idea as to what you think should happen with the Skyway,
Okay.
then and we pick your idea, Glenn, you get $100 grand.
Nice.
But if I'm a runner-up, I'm second to get 50. And
How about this?
If Kelsey, our producer, is third, 25,000. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are we spending money in all these studies for?
Right.
Shouldn't you go out and hire? If you're gonna move the Skyway, okay, we bring in experts, somebody certified to actually figure out what should happen with the Skyway.
right.
And then once we decide on a plan, then you would bid that project out.
Right.
Are you? So you're gonna. So now we're gonna bring
Let me guess.
12-year-olds down there with crayons
yeah.
to say, which one do we like the best? There's $100 grand. That's your tax money.
I'll tell you what.
Unreal.
I'd put my money behind the 12-year-old before I put it behind Howie Zemsky.
Just
saying.
I agree.
I'm just
but
saying.
I mean, how frustrating is that? From a you're talking about an area where you have 30% unemployment rates in the black community in the city of Buffalo, right? You have people leaving every single day. I think we said about 50 people every single day still leaving the city of Buffalo, right? The highest poverty rates in the country, right? Then every time we do something, they spend millions of dollars on a study. And then after we spent millions of dollars on a study from experts, we go out and have a goddamn coloring contest to figure out who's going to move the Skyway and what it's going to happen.
When did we do this before? Oh, I feel like there was a contest
a bridge or
while
something?
ago. There was a bridge that really needed to be upgraded. I remember they had
an
this,
important bridge, I think.
I think it was. They had this, but I remember in the Buffalo News they had this really big contest. They went all across the country, and they solicited bids and drawings from these major designers and architects all over the world. I think it was. I think there was some German engineers that submitted.
Sure.
And they had this big spread of the Buffalo News, and eventually
you open up a coloring contest with a $100,000 prize,
right. But I remember.
Shocked at what you get.
I remember it was, let's see, back then I believe they picked this wonderful, what they called this twin span. It was going to be this signature bridge that was really going to define downtown Buffalo. And they did $25 million of environmental studies to make sure it was all good. They announced the winner, and then,
They even sort of thought the birds could get through it, I think.
But the Arctic Tern, Mike, the Arctic Tern
That's right.
could not fly around this bridge.
Couldn't figure it out.
So 25 years later, we still have the decrepit Peace Bridge. Not one new bridge has been built. And I'm guessing that the Skyway, this project here,
that'll
this
stay
little
there forever.
clown show
Nah.
of $200,000 in prizes and soliciting bids, my guess is that 25 years from now, I may be dead 25 years from now, but if I'm not, my guess is if I'm living anywhere near Buffalo or visiting here, more likely, that I'll be still driving over the Skyway because it will still be there.
Well, yeah.
Nothing ever gets done here.
There is a very high probability that you will not be driving over it because it'll be shut down.
Oh, right. Let me ask you this, though.
Remember my parents' road. My parents live in Depew. It took them 6 years to fix the bridge.
Yep.
And it was to drive down my parents' street, you couldn't drive down it anymore because the bridge wasn't functioning, right? It was shut down. So you had to literally drive all the way around their neighborhood to come back around their house because the bridge was shut down. Now, most people would say, well, if the bridge is shut down for a month or 2 or 3 because we're working on it, totally understandable, right?
Course.
6 years.
6 years.
6 years. I'll never forget there was a street right across from Depew High School, right off of Transit Road there, and somebody put a sign up because they were shut down for like 10 or 11 years. It said shut down due to New York State incompetence.
Yeah,
love
amazing.
it. Yeah.
Amazing. But the Peace Bridge, 25 years later, is still there. They haven't done a thing to it. Now, the Arctic Tern apparently has survived all these years by flying around trees and whatnot, but as soon as you put a signature twin-span bridge up, it would just be disaster for the Arctic Tern. I wonder if they did the same studies for those windmills that seem to be higher than the bridge would have been. Those are all over the waterfront. Apparently, these giant spinning blades of as opposed to a fixed bridge,
those birds don't
they can
count.
navigate those no problem.
Those birds don't count.
But, I mean, is the Arctic Tern so good that a spinning? I mean, maybe we could put a windmill on the Peace Bridge.
If you look into it,
genius.
There's more conservative thinking birds that get killed by windmills than liberals.
So it's okay.
So it's
all right. What a joke. I mean,
Yeah.
look, we'll have a Peace Bridge 25 years from now.
The birds that have gone out and gathered their own meals.
They left.
And worked hard.
They flew south.
For some reason, they're the ones that get hit with the windmill. So it's just
go
fine.
figure.
Yeah.
They
moved south.
They moved south.
That's right. They moved south.
We'll have a
the conservative thinking birds are they're in a pond right now in Florida going.
Yeah, I'm not going back.
How's the winter?
We'll have a Skyway 20 years from now that will look exactly like the Skyway we have today because they're going to do this whole.
It won't. None of that
contest.
actually changes until it falls into the water, or the Skyway actually falls over.
Right.
Then we go into panic mode. Then we fix it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Peace Bridge still here 25 years later. My guess is this whole Skyway project will spend millions. There's $200,000 for the contest. That's just a drop in the bucket.
$200,000.
We'll spend
Think about
millions of dollars on
My
environmental
road
studies.
is absolutely disgusting in the town of Alma. It looks disgusting. We could use that $200,000. I want you to transfer that from the coloring contest to my road to fix my road first, right?
Anyway.
And it's not just my road. We did it on the radio show last week. We were talking about one of the fire departments that were saying they cannot respond to fires anymore because the roads in Erie County are so
It's taking
bad.
twice as long.
We're spending $200,000 for a coloring contest to pick somebody to win the Skyway contest when we've hired somebody as, quote, experts to give us their expert opinion. I cannot think of a more asinine place to live than Western New York. I really can't.
Maybe New York City.
Well, New York State. I mean, New York State alone.
No
I
doubt.
just cannot think of anything. What goes through these people's brains when they come up with this stuff it blows my mind.
If it was their money, I think you'd probably think differently, but I think they would think differently, but they don't get it, right?
It's not. They'll get some good votes out of this and some good press. So I hope it worked out. Whoever put this together, I got to believe it's a Higgins or a Timmy Kennedy type of deal.
I'm sure with our money. So
Andrew Cuomo. Yep. Aim for the sky competition.
Aim for the sky.
Yeah.
Aren't we starting to bring the Skyway down?
Aim for the sky. Start up New York. Let's get this thing rolling.
What a joke.
No, they left.
What a joke. Yeah, no one's going to be here anyway. Just should turn the lights off, no doubt. So
How we doing? We're done?
I think we're good.
All
I
right,
think that's enough.
cool. Need us throughout the week, folks. We do manage money for a living. Go to our website, financialguys.com. Pretty much everything we do there, social media-wise, Twitter, Facebook, podcast. You can find it all on our website, financialguys.com.
One last thing. Check out our spread that we just got in the Fortune Magazine and Bloomberg Business this week. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, here it is. Nice article on bringing Wall Street to Main Street. Our investment arm, Independent Solutions, 175 years of investment experience, 2 CFAs and 2 mutual fund managers is almost unparalleled in Western New York. And we're trying to bring Wall Street to Main Street right here in Western New York and Buffalo.
Perfect.
All
God
set?
bless. See you next
Have a good week.
See you Saturday.